Welcome back, gentlemen, but not just the gentlemen, but the gentlewomen and gentle children too! Yes. Welcome back to the Creepypasta Vault. Today, we'll be diving into quite a few stories about every child's favorite subject. Television! Let's enter, shall we? Stay close. You don't want to get lost. No pun intended. Now, because the lost episode genre of creepypastas is so unbelievably popular with hundreds, probably thousands of stories existing in it, it was genuinely impossible for me to narrow it all down to 10 stories. I just found so much gold in this mine that it was impossible to contain it all in one cart. Therefore, you are all invited to something very special. This is the start of the Worst Lost Episode Trilogy. It's fitting, isn't it? A trilogy of videos about bad stories regarding television and film. Each video will cover 10 different stories, and in the end we will have covered 30 of them. To keep each part fresh and to keep your sanity at bay, each part will start with the least terrible in the batch of 10, and progressively get worse. This is episode 1. So, what are we waiting for? Let's begin! Ow! Oh, I stubbed my damn toe! Oh, it hurts like hell! Wait, what's going on? Damn it, I can feel myself changing. Oh, it was bound to happen eventually. Change is necessary when everything falls into place. It's time I change too. Thank you so much for this time, hideous artist. Your reign has been wonderful, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. But now, it's time for change. See you all on the other side. Oh. Well, that's different, but I like it. Thank you very much to Netflix Tape for creating these awesome brand new sprites for me to use in my future videos. It'll be a lot of fun to animate with these. Go check out their Twitter, I'll put a link to them down in the description, they are crazy talented. Well, that's that. I'm new now. With that said, let's begin. Grab some popcorn and sit down and relax, because now begins the countdown for the 30 worst Lost Episode Creepypastas. Enjoy! Number 10. Doras Lost Episode. Are you guys ready for Dora the Explorer to be used in a horror context? As if the show wasn't scary enough! I used to love Dora when I was a little girl. Uh-oh, gotta do the voice. I used to love Dora! No, I'm kidding, I'm not doing that. I honestly don't like her at all now, but when my cousin Lauren asked me to babysit her 18-month-old son Lucas, I decided that Dora would entertain him for a bit. We watched a few episodes on an old DVD I found in my baby box. We were having a great time and I realized it was time for Lucas's nap. So I paused the TV and put him to bed. After he was asleep, I went back to turn off the TV. The second I walked into the room, I heard the intro. I thought I paused it. Ah well, I decided another episode couldn't hurt. After all, I wasn't doing so well in Spanish. Oh man, this character is much more relatable than most creepypasta protagonists. Spanish is hard, dude. I sat down on the sofa and fiddled with one of Lucas's little toy cars. I wondered what episode of Family Guy, my favorite show, they would be on that day when a blast of static interrupted my thoughts. I grabbed the remote and muted it quickly. Then when it stopped, turned it to 1. Dora was speaking, but she had a grim expression on her face, rather than her usual friendly smile. She said, "Hello! Today we are..." No, I am not doing that accent. "Hello! Today we are going to learn about a monkey's body." Her voice was male. I was a bit confused. Suddenly, her eyes turned hyper-realistic and bloody. I fought the urge to touch the screen to be sure it was just an image. That is an extremely appropriate response. She grinned hugely. I shuddered as I saw her smile grow larger. Her teeth were sharp and her eyes were suddenly tiny. I saw a flash of something. I nervously played it back and saw a mutilated kitten. What? Where did all this animal cruelty come from? Really though, here's a prime example of a mistake many creepypasta authors, and inexperienced horror authors in general, do. Scares with absolutely no build-up. See, there was nothing in the story so far to either get us endeared to our main character, or to have us really invest in what's happening. Therefore, throwing scary imagery in there purely for shock does nothing to enrich the narrative. For horror, I would suggest a slow build-up in order to get the reader or watcher invested. Don't make it boring, but also don't pull all the big punches immediately. I gasped and tears filled my eyes. I'm usually only emotional when I get angry, but I love kittens. Who doesn't? I looked at it and realized it wasn't a kitten, but my cat Stitch. Seeing my sweet baby like this made me sob. I clutched my Brian Griffin plush. Well, that's one way to dissipate all tension from a scene. And it began playing all by itself. It was like something made me watch this. I saw Dora grab Boots' ear and slowly and graphically tear his face off. Ugh, I exclaimed. I hadn't been this disgusted since I read that Cupcakes fanfic. I hugged my Brian as Boots howled. I was crying hysterically. I heard lots of other ripping and screaming noises, but I was too afraid to watch. I sat huddled under a blanket until the noise stopped. It's over, I thought. Oh my god, how awful. Are you talking about this story? Still holding Brian, I emerged from the blanket and ran to the bathroom. I vomited enough to feed an army. What? I turned off the TV, grabbed Lucas, and immediately dialed 911. Lauren and Jonathan came home in a rush, and I explained to the police what had happened. I reluctantly showed them the video, and they were revolted.
Revolting!
I insisted they destroy it, but they instead recalled every copy of the video. Surprisingly, only a few had the disturbing video. I was taken to therapy to get over the trauma. I honestly don't know what has become of the video. All I can remember was sitting in the police office, hugging Brian and begging them to destroy it. If you ever come across the video, please, I'm begging you, contact the authorities. This has scarred me for life, and I don't want it to happen to you too. Okay, that's all well and good, but how are people supposed to know which video is which without watching it first? And wasn't it a DVD that you watched, not a video? I'm confused, and I'm sure I'm not alone on that. Number 9. Shrek Directors Cut. Let us go back to the year 2001. Remember Shrek? The internet sure does. That film caused a lot of buzz, and I happen to be a big fan of it myself. It recently piqued my curiosity that there was an unreleased director's cut of the film, and as soon as I heard about it, I began a search for it. I tried contacting the people who worked on the film via emails or phone calls, but I never got a response, or I only got an answering machine. My last resort was contacting Andrew Adamson, the person who directed the film. I managed to get on a Skype interview with him, oh yes, of course you did, and I asked him general questions like, where did you get the idea for this film? And what did you think of the finished film? And whatnot. So when I finally asked him about the purported director's cut, he just fell silent. I could see his face going pale. He proceeded to tell me, don't look for it, just let the memory die. He hung up the call right then. Well, that's just rude. I just sat at my desk confused. I went to bed. The next day, I tried emailing Mr. Adamson about the director's cut in an attempt to find out more. I managed to get a response exactly 45 minutes later. The email said, just give me your address and I will send it to you. If you're sure you want to see it, then I guess I can't stop you. Beware, for the things you will see will forever stay in your mind for the rest of your life. Well, that's an enticing offer and not creepy at all. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to see the director's cut at this point, but hey, morbid curiosity got the better of me. So I sent back another email with my address and a thank you. About a week later, I received a package from Mr. Adamson himself. It was the director's cut VHS tape. Strangely, it had the exact same design as the regular Shrek VHS tape. I popped it in my VHS player, yes I still have one, and let it play. Oh, how I wish I could take that back. Well, the intro of the film was different. You know, where Shrek is reading the book. Well, the shot just stays there. It just froze on the book. It didn't move at all. You couldn't even hear Shrek's voice. It was just total silence. After about 6 minutes, why would you keep watching that for 6 minutes? I would think the tape would have messed up or something. The tape cut to the scene of Donkey and Shrek walking through the cornfield. Wow, this was pretty late in the film. Again, it was dead silence. It cut to static for about 5 minutes, but again it was silent. You know, this all sounds like nothing more than a wonky tape, to be honest. The weird thing is that I could make out some sort of video in the static. It looked like Shrek standing over Donkey, and Shrek somehow tore open Donkey's chest and proceeded to eat his intestines. I nearly vomited, but after the video clip ended, the film cut to the scene where Shrek and Donkey are in the castle to rescue Fiona, but again, it was silent. When it got to the scene of Donkey sweet-talking the dragon, it once again cut to static. This time there was no hidden video thankfully, and it was just regular static. It cut to the shot of Dragon watching Shrek, Fiona, and Donkey leave the castle, with Dragon sighing because Donkey left. Dragon went back inside the castle, dipped her head in the lava, and proceeded to melt into nothing but a skeleton. This emotionally affected me greatly, as Dragon is one of my favorite characters. It cut to Shrek and Fiona at the chapel, where Farquaad orders his guards to kill Shrek and capture Fiona. The disturbing thing is, the scene just keeps going. The guards eventually kill Shrek by beheading him. I'm sorry, I can't take that seriously. And Fiona was taken back to the castle and thrown into the lava. Instead of the credits rolling, there was a message saying, "The dead have risen. Hail Satan." Oh come on, you can't just insert satanic imagery for no reason. That's not scary. I immediately ejected the tape, threw it away. Unfortunately, my mind wasn't quick enough to think to destroy the tape, so it is still out there somewhere. If you see a VHS copy of Shrek, stay away from it. Wait, so any VHS copy? Even regular ones? Was this whole story nothing but a marketing ploy by Disney to get people to stay away from DreamWorks' films? I've cracked the case, Chief! Here's a, vandalized ending that was apparently added by someone on the Trollpasta wiki. It cut to Shrek and Fiona at the chapel, when Farquaad orders his guards to kill Shrek and capture Fiona. The disturbing thing is, the scene just keeps going. Shrek eventually manages to decapitate all the guards and melt off Farquaad's face with his onion breath, before looking at the screen telling me, "Hey laddie, they should have checked themselves before they Shrek themselves!" The last thing I see is his onion-flavored love coming at me. Shrek is love, Shrek is life. See? Much better. Number 8. Blue's Clues. Blue's Clues? How would anyone think this cute, innocent show could be turned into something scary? Let's find out? Supposedly, the producers of the children's show Blue's Clues attempted to smuggle a forbidden episode of the show onto the air. Rumor has it they partially succeeded. The first 30 seconds of the episode aired, but then it was taken off the air and a different one was broadcast instead. A few people claim to have seen those 30 seconds, and say that Steve was facing the camera with a grim expression, trying to tell the viewers something that had happened with the show's premise. For someone who has never seen Blue's Clues, I am sure they're pretty confused about who Steve is right about now. This has all been dismissed as a prank, until a DVD was found by a woman named Alyssa Goodman, who is apparently a cousin of 3 siblings that have experience with the paranormal. Oh my god, is this story attempting to tie itself into the Goodman saga? As in $1.wav, camcorder, and knob.exe? That's not good. She claims that this is what she saw when she put it in her DVD player. Steve comes on screen. Oh no. He is sitting on his thinking chair with a grim expression. Then he says to the viewer, "Please, if you are watching this, please help us. They took me, Blue, and everyone else away from our home. We were enslaved. We had to act in a show of some sort, Blue's Clues, and they abused and tortured us if we didn't obey, or sometimes even if we did. We hated it. We wanted to go back home, but we're trapped. Please, don't let us suffer anymore. Free us, please." She says that she now has a phobia of kids shows. She fears that the characters in other shows may have had the same fate, and she can't bear to think of that. Wait, is that it? These endings, man, none of them make any sense. Nothing even remotely scary really happened. So what? An actor or character from a show told the viewer they were forced to participate? I mean, I can imagine that being a little bit upsetting to hear, but developing a phobia towards all kids shows because of it? Highly unlikely. Number 7. Wubbzy Lost Episode. These subject matters are only gonna get more and more ridiculous, aren't they? I used to like this show, but I am never watching it again. Enjoy my story. Wow, an intro that gets straight to the point, huh? Abrasive, harsh, and direct. Very impressive. It all started when I was woke up in the middle of the night by the Wubbzy theme song. That's very specific. I turned off my TV before I went to sleep, but I did not care. I was not tired. So I watched Wubbzy. At first, the theme song was normal and stuff, but when it says wow at the end of the theme, it repeated about 8 times, and the last time, it was in a deep voice. Then, it showed the title card that said, Wubbzy the Killer. That was strange, because Wubbzy is a kids show. I was freaked out, but I watched it. It started out with Wubbzy in Widget's house, and Wubbzy asked if she can come to his house. Widget said, "No." Here is when it is freaky. Wubbzy gets mad, and pulls out a gun. He runs to Widget and puts the gun in Widget's mouth. He shoots, and blood splatters. Then Wubbzy went to Walden's house and pulled out a knife. No! It then cut to black for 10 seconds. After that, it shows Walden's dead body close up. The episode ended, and I realized it was shorter than most of the time. I then went to sleep hoping it was a dream. I woke up and saw some news about the episode on some news channel. I stopped watching and forgot all about the episode, and lived normally again. Okay, that was it? Listen, this story commits many of the cardinal sins when writing a creepypasta story, so let's go over a few of them. Number 1. No build-up to speak of. The story is incredibly short and therefore has little time to breathe and little time for the events of it to sink in before moving on. Number 2. A seemingly innocent character springing up and murdering his supposed friends. This trope has been done to death, and it is just not scary anymore. I would suggest you stop doing this in stories unless you have something new and fresh to bring to the table, instead of regurgitating everything that other authors have already done in the past. Number 3. An abrupt, unsatisfying ending that leaves more questions and answers none. In certain stories, that can work to its benefits if done correctly, but it is not done well here, as you can probably tell. That's enough of this story. Number 6. Garfield's Horrible Joy. I'm a pretty big fan of Garfield. You know, the comic strip character that's a fat orange cat with black strips that loves lasagna. You probably do know about him and his huge fan base. But something that many Garfield fans don't know is that Garfield has some TV shows, like Garfield and Friends. The majority of these were hand-drawn shows that followed most of the traits that the comics had. I'm sure quite a large amount of the people who know of Garfield know that he had television shows. It's not really a secret. There is one show that I want to talk about called The Garfield Show. This was a computer animated show that was like Garfield and Friends, but with much better quality and a few more characters. I loved watching this show, and so many others did that they had to keep it going to this day. But the show was supposed to stop at season 4 for reasons I will tell you in a second. When I was a garage sale looking at some stuff to get, my eyes laid on a Garfield DVD, which was the first 4 seasons of the Garfield show. So I asked if I could pay for this, and the guy said take it for free. Oh yeah, I've never heard that happen in a creepypasta before. I was so overjoyed that I ran to my house and put it into my DVD player. It started at the intro, where I could choose any episode from seasons 1 to 4, but at the very bottom of the list was an episode called GarfieldsHorrible Joy. I had no idea what this episode was, but out of curiosity I clicked on it. I wish I hadn't clicked on it. It started out with Garfield sitting on the chair and eating what looked like a dog's ear. I was a little confused, but thought it was just a little bit of lasagna. Then Normal came over and said, "Hi," and kept bragging about how he's the cutest cat in the world. This is when things got scary. Garfield then closes his eyes. For 2 seconds they stay closed. Then he opened his eyes, revealing 2 bloodshot eyes. Then Garfield grabbed Normal by the neck and threw him against a wall. Then he pulled out a butcher knife that already had blood on it, indicating that he already killed something with it, and then slowly approached Normal. I was terrified at what I saw, but I had to see what happened. Then Normal opened his eyes, revealing to him Garfield with bloodshot eyes and a knife. Then Garfield stabbed Normal in the stomach, making blood splatter everywhere. Then came something that scared me for life about eating meat. Garfield ripped open Normal's chest and ate his intestines. Again? Someone else eating intestines? What are people's fascinations with intestines? All the while, Normal screaming to death. I threw up at the sight, but had to see the end, regretting it. After that, Garfield went up the stairs and saw John working on his computer. Then John turns around. "Oh hey Garfield!" Garfield then leaped up at John, stabbing his eye socket. Blood everywhere as he ran around the room until he just laid there, dead. Then it showed a close-up of the front door. For 10 seconds nothing happened. Then Garfield's face appeared. He had demonic sharp teeth and huge bloodshot eyes, and a message repeatedly flashed on the screen saying, "I'm gonna kill you, Sam Sam Sam." I immediately took the disc and smashed it to bits. I will never see Garfield or any cat again. Because every time I see a cat, I always see those red bloodshot eyes. What is this anti-cat propaganda? Watching that disc has let out a demon, and that demon is after me. As I record this, Garfield is slamming on my door, meowing his normal meow from the show, and I know that when he kills me, the last thing I will see are those red, bloodshot eyes. Just the image of a real-life Garfield standing outside someone's house with a knife and meowing. That's genuinely hilarious. All I can think of is Bill Murray standing outside of my house imitating a cat. This image will never leave my brain. Number 5. Courage the Cowardly Dog Banned Episode. Oh man, this one hits close to home. No show other than Courage was able to freak me out as much as it did back when I was a kid. Let's see if this story is able to replicate those feelings. I shall proceed with caution. Yes, I am aware that every single episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog is purposely disturbing, but this episode was so messed up, it was only aired once. Ooh. This is gonna be good. I don't remember the exact date, but it was at least 5 years ago I remember seeing an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog on Cartoon Network that was way too violent to be shown on kids' programs. The episode begins with Courage waking up, stretching, then walking downstairs to find Eustace sleeping on his chair. Meanwhile, Muriel is cooking. Courage yawns, then there's a knock on the door. It's a mountain goat wearing a top hat and monocle. "Good Day, fine dog. May I stay for a night? I require rest for my big day. Muriel comes to the door, but the goat comes in before anything is said. Eustace has now awoken and was complaining at the goat. The goat simply replied with, "Fuck you." Which I was rather shocked about. I paused it for a second before listening again. Courage is already suspicious as the goat. He then went upstairs into the bedroom. Courage follows him and the goat starts chanting continuously, then an axe appears on the floor. I guess the goat invested a lot of time into his conjuration skills, huh? The goat picks it up, then disappears. Courage does his usual scream, then runs downstairs. But when he reaches downstairs, he looks out the window to see that it's night already. Muriel and Eustace were now sleeping. Then Courage grabs them by their hand and drags them into the cellar, then pulls out a giant lock, then locks and chains up the door. A cockerel is heard and all of a sudden it's morning. The goat suddenly appears behind Courage and says, "It's my big day." Courage gulps and suddenly the goat starts chasing everyone with the axe. Eustace awakens and shouts, "Fucking dog and goat!" Then he tries to kick the goat, but the goat ends up chopping off his foot. Eustace falls down and let's just say, what the goat did was not pretty, but it ended up chopping off Eustace's head. Is that all the info we're gonna get? Alrighty then. Let your imagination run wild, fellow viewer. What do you think happened to Eustace? Then the screen went static and the whole show stopped. I figured Cartoon Network had managed to stop it from being aired. The end. That doesn't answer anything. Did some elite hacker person hack Cartoon Network in order to play this strange little fan-made Courage episode? Was that what was going on in this story? If so, then hey, you gotta get out there somehow. Number 4. Arthur Lost episode, Arthur's Suicide. Introduction. Hi, XX-Can't99XX here. That's one very unfortunate name. Again to bring you my next creepypasta. Now I did say in the comments that I was going to do one about Bobby is poopy, but I could not get the starting right and it just didn't work out. I wasn't really a fan of Arthur, but after the incident I hate Arthur now. I rushed this a bit due to my schedule, but hopefully you won't hate too much. So I bring you Arthur's Suicide. So without further ado, let the pasta begin. Well, that's one way to start a story, by immediately dispelling it as fabricated. The story. I was with my brother and I was bored. So he made me watch Arthur and I said, "Do I have to?" He said, "You must." It was boring and when the theme song came up it was normal, but I saw this image flash quickly and I could barely make out what it was. Because we used to love Arthur as kids, the good thing is it is still on TV. But we never got to see the new episodes, because we got to new things like Dora the Explorer, SpongeBob and Thomas the Tank Engine. I asked my brother if he saw it and he said, "No. Are you having hallucinations?" I said, "No, this is serious." I continued to watch it and the title screen was grayscale and the title said Arthur's Suicide. The episode. It was a sunny day. Arthur and Francine were practicing for a baseball tournament. Then Muffy was hanging out with Binky. After that, the episode Skyped to the next day. It wasn't very pleasant, because Binky was murdering people with a knife. Oh my god! Muffy was dead. Sue Ellen was dead, and a lot more were killed. My brother left the room crying. The students entered the class. This is one of the most horrible parts. There was a very loud scream and I was really scared when that happened. Everyone was shocked to find a dead Nope, I am not reading that. That's just disgusting. Describing dead children in gratuitous detail is not how you make a scary story. It's just awful. After that, the episode skipped to Arthur playing in his baseball tournament. The scene was weird as everyone had bleeding eyes. Arthur was batting while the bowler threw the ball straight at him. He got 3 strikes and he got striked out. It skipped to the end of the match where he tried to catch the ball. The batter scored a home run and the score was 18-0. The Elwood City team blamed everything on Arthur. When Arthur got home, the scene was a flashback of all that had happened. Then he heard voices saying, "Do it, Arthur. It was all your fault. Kill yourself." The final frame was Arthur lying on his bed, dead with blood dripping out of his heart. Then I turned off the TV. Wow, this story is definitely not a ripoff of something else. Epilogue. I turned the TV back on and there was a message saying, "This is your future." After that, I got really scared and contacted PBS Kids to warn them about the episode. They said, "How could this be possible? I don't know who made this episode, but it definitely wasn't us." A few weeks later, they replied, "We still haven't found the maker of this episode, but we're sure it's the same maker as Squidward's suicide." Oh god damn it. That does not excuse the blatant plagiarism at play here. At that time I checked on my brother. He was still crying. What? After weeks? Has he just been non-stop crying ever since? He said, "I never want to watch Arthur again." So I said, "Same as me, but it shouldn't happen again." Well, this is the end of my story and I have nothing else to say. And since up to 2014, I never watched all the episodes of Arthur again. So the next time you come across this episode, don't watch it. Watch other things. It's for your own good. Wow, that is one lazy ending. It's a non-ending. I guess the author got bored and just stopped when their creative flow disappeared. Number 3. Steven Universe Lost Episode. A few days ago, I heard that my favorite currently running cartoon called Steven Universe was coming back. I decided to marathon it, starting with episode 1. That's usually what you do in a marathon. Conveniently, a channel that I had never heard of with a strange name was airing the episodes in order 1 a day. It had the normal intro music that I always hum along to, but with minor changes to the video, such as the "and Steven" at the end was missing. In fact, in the intro, Steven was nowhere to be found and the title said "Blood Glow" instead of the normal "Gem Glow." I noted the gems looked like they were tired. The episode started with Pearl, the tall gem, crying hyper-realistically about Steven getting hurt. This was the moment I got confused and said to myself that it could be a fan episode or an edit by a small channel trying to get money off of the Steven Universe property. That actually sounds totally reasonable. Case closed. Shortly after around 2 minutes of Pearl just sitting there crying hyper-realistic tears, Garnet, the strong gem, comes in with Amethyst, the small gem, by her side holding something with a cloth over it. As they lay the thing on the ground, Amethyst, Garnet, and Pearl all start crying. They then pull the cloth off to reveal the hyper-realistic, mangled, bloody body of a dead Steven. Oh no? The screen zoomed in to the hyper-realistic mangled face of Steven, showing the hyper-realistic gory details. Suddenly it cut to black, playing the reversed opening theme with whispers saying, "Steven gone. Dead. No return. You will meet the fate of Steven. Time to die." A couple of minutes after it finished, I searched up the channel and got no results, except this site with text saying, "Sorry viewers, we have shut down 2006. I also searched up Blood Glow, but the only result was Gem Glow. That's when I said to my friends, "What the hell? That was horrifying. Also, the channel shut down before Steven Universe was even an idea." And it seems the author's brain shut off before this story was even an idea. I'm sorry, author, that was mean and I apologize. No hard feelings, mate. Keep writing, okay? Keep writing. Number 2. Jimmy Neutron Happy Family Hour Lost Episode. My cousin worked as an intern for Nickelodeon in 2005. Are we gonna have to add a plagiarism and cliche counter to this video as well? He gave me a DVD of Jimmy Neutron. I got home and later on I put in the DVD into my Xbox. I played this episode and the title card was Jimmy Neutron Happy Family Hour. I thought this was a new unaired special hour episode. I was wrong. It played and in the beginning was the most disturbing part. Why? Why can no one on the planet ever spell beginning correctly? It showed the house of Jimmy Neutron. It went in as just music, then no sound. I showed Hugh with a gun and killed the mom. The audio was back. He said,
Jimmy, your mom is dead. Do an order of pizza for dinner.
Jimmy said,
Okay, Daddy.
I was very creeped out. Then, there was no audio again. Jimmy was on the phone and talking. I was guessing it was for the pizza. The Hugh comes up to Jimmy and says,
Now it is time for father-son bonding.
Then the screen had a red screen effect and Hugh said,
Bond with me, Jimmy.
in a deep voice. Then they were on the sofa waking TV. I was weird was Hugh had a gun pointing at Jimmy. I got sick. The doorbell ringed and the pizza went berserk. Jimmy said,
The pizza is aggressive.
the pizza chopped off Hugh's head. Then Jimmy said,
Just another day in the life of Jimmy Neutron.
The episode ended. I took out the DVD and smashed it to little bits. I had a few nightmares and could no go to sleep. A person made what was on the DVD animated, but he dreamed a few things for it. What? Did this guy just take the YouTube video and type down everything that happened in it to try and pass it off as being his own creepypasta? I have no words. Number 1. Bob the Builder, Lost Episode. Oh, I get it. If this story is about the design of the reboot Bob the Builder, then I completely understand the horror. Ugh. I am an average 23-year-old living in Portland, Oregon in a small house. I severely doubt that, judging by the grammar and spelling put on display here. I was bored as crap. I have nothing to do in my house and barely own anything. Well, that's because I sold mostly everything I had at a yard sale because I make terrible profit off my job. And I always wanted to go to a good collage, so I promised myself I would never pay more than $10 for another 3 weeks. So I drove and looked for some cheap crap. Most of the yard sales had some pretty good CDs like Lost, Walking Dead, and Breaking Bad with whole seasons, but they were way beyond of what I had in stock. I looked through almost every part of my city and couldn't find any entertainment I buy. I was about 2 miles from my home, that's not very far at all, and I saw a person standing up at a table and I parked my car and saw what he had. The house he was selling at looked like a large wood cabin. Then I noticed he actually was selling a small TV and a disc for only $3. I was stunned when I saw that. Who would sell a TV for $3, I thought. And then I took a closer image of the items and they were the same things I sold at my yard sale a long time ago. I was curious and I bought the TV and the disc, and the tall man that looked like he was in his 60s gave me a smile. Not a thankful smile, a smile that said, "I'm glad it happened." I gave him the money, took my items to my house, plugged in the TV. The TV had the same quality as before I sold it, and the disc I didn't recognize, but I looked at it and it looked like a regular disc that you're supposed to make something with. I sold those too. Then I turned it over and it said Bob the Builder written in black Sharpie. I put it in and it and the Happy Jolly theme song played instantly. Nothing wrong at all, just the regular theme song. Why would it be different? After that, the title card said Working Together. It sounded like an episode that would have already been made, but what do I know? It started with Bob riding a tractor, but it wasn't the happy Bob the Builder most of us know. It was just Bob the Builder with a blank expression on his face running over dead flowers or something else, I don't know. He rode the tractor for 5 minutes. Then the tractor broke down and Bob looked very angry, his teeth were grinding. He just looked very pissed off, his eyes turned red, then he walked out of the tractor, picked up a dagger and stabbed it at least 500 times. The tractor actually started bleeding. He charged for the others' cars and did the same thing only more times. He saw children walk by to say hi to Bob and blew them up. Blew them up! and hanged them by the eye on a cross and ate their organs one by one. Jeez, Bob, have you taken your meds for the day? The screen went black for 5 seconds. It went into a house and Bob stared at the screen with red eyes, smiling. Then he said in a very dark voice,
"You're next."
Then it went black and did nothing else. I took the disc and took it to my garage and broke it into a million pieces with a sledgehammer. A sledgehammer! I had nightmares ever since. Till one day I was cutting meat for my dinner and there was a Bob the Builder doll with a knife in his hand, and I freaked out and slut is through it with the knife I was cutting with, and nothing ever happened since. Then the next week, I was stabbed in the heart. That's it. That's how the story ends. I can't believe what I just read. The story just kept getting worse and worse. It was almost magical. It was as if I was watching an accident that just kept piling on and I just couldn't look away. That was truly something special, and I don't know about you, but I loved it. With those 10 stories covered, we reached the end of episode 1 of our trilogy. With 10 stories down, 20 to go. We are only getting started, and the journey will be long. Let's take a temporary break and gather our bearings before we continue. Make sure you tune in for parts 2 and 3. See you next time, everyone. Make sure to stay vigilant and careful. Stay awesome, everyone. Goodbye. Sug min kuk.